Welcome, folks, to episode number 43. We want to give a big thank you to last week's guests, Lally Tor and Dampy Brar, the co-creators of Apna Hockey. Appreciative of the time they spent with us last week to share their personal hockey journeys growing up in Canada and how Apna came to be. We wish them both continued success across our nation for their ice hockey program directed at developing hockey talent in the South Asian community and other communities as they look to build their success. So, Amit, you want to give an intro into tonight's guest, please?
Yes. So, very excited for tonight's guest. He's a story of being in the right place at the right time and just being a genuine all-around good guy. When I heard his story and after talking to him and preparing for this show, the lyrics of Drake popped in my head. We started from the bottom and now we're here. Of course, he has a better accent, so I'd like him to say instead of me because he's got the kind of the either Eastern Seaboard U.S. accent. So I'll let him talk about when he gets here. So we got a chance to meet Tim at the Sport Card Expo up here in Toronto, which unbelievably was less than a month ago. Or was it a month ago? No, it was a month ago.
About a month ago, yeah.
A month ago today. And it was through a mutual friend of ours. His name is Eric, or affectionately known as Sanderson to Or online. I'm hoping that, when you all hear Tim's story and you hear what he has to say, that you feel inspired and empowered to chase your own dream, because he's chasing his, and it hasn't been, years and years of toil and turmoil. He's been doing it. He's been doing it pretty recently. So let's bring out Tim.
Hey, Tim. Amit, what's going on, boys? We started from the bottom, now we're here, right?
That's right.
That's what you wanted to hear?
Yeah,
It all sounds the same.
It sounds great when you say it. You got the accent, so it works. Yeah. So first I want to say hi to Dennis. So Dennis is a loyal watcher, comes every week. We have Name. Name comes and watches every week as well. And then there's your boy, Eric.
There he is.
The Punisher.
There's the man.
So I want to give a bit of a backstory. It's like you've been on a couple of podcasts. You were on Geoff Wilson's show, I think last week. And I want to kind of give a bit of more of a backstory to get the people to understand who is Tim and what's the man behind the creative genius of Slab Strong. So tell us about where you grew up and what are your passions for all things Rhode Island based.
Yeah, so I'm from East Providence, Rhode Island. I currently live in Providence, Rhode Island. And yes, that is two different cities, not just different parts of the city. And, both my parents were teachers. Grew up playing, 4 sports a year, whether it's running track, baseball, soccer, and basketball. So always loved to, as a kid, getting out there running. I think where my Rhode Island, real passion comes from is literally just being the smallest state and having guys like Eric Sanderson or from Boston, we're either, whenever you travel, you're either from New York or Boston. And when you tell them Providence, they don't care. They're just like, whatever, right? And so a lot of that comes from, and then I had a couple of people I knew growing up or went to school with that made the NFL or, made it really close to the NBA. So there's not a lot of guys that come out of Rhode Island, but it's definitely a passion of mine to collect them because they're usually pretty inexpensive to collect too.
Awesome. So who did you grow up idol? You said you played all 4 sports, but what sport did you follow and who were your idols growing up?
Well, I feel like I'm the best at basketball. That's my favorite sport to play. I used to love running and soccer. But baseball, which I would say was I was okay. I made a few all-star teams. But Chipper Jones absolutely is my favorite all-time athlete of all time. I played third base. I believe I played third base before I knew about him, but essentially in my memory, he's the reason I played third base. I actually met him at the National this year and got his autograph, which was pretty cool. So definitely Chipper Jones. So I'm a big Atlanta Braves fan. And so Andrew Jones is another guy and the youngest guy ever to play in the World Series. In basketball, I would say obviously Jordan, Shaq. I grew up in those days, Iverson, Rodman, Pippen. I was right not so much Isaiah Thomas, not so much Bird. Like at that point, like I'm 10 years old in 1992, right? So at that point, they're kind of, so I didn't really feel them. But yeah, no. So oddly enough, my all-time PC, which I don't even know if you guys have heard of him, like thousands of his cards, was a guy named Isaiah Ryder that played for the Timberwolves. He was essentially the first guy to put the ball between his legs in a dunk contest. Yeah, so guys like that, but Chipper Jones for sure.
Yeah, Chipper Jones, I definitely can see being a third baseman. You'd like him. I don't know many athletes. Actually, what are some of the bigger athletes that come out of Providence?
So the most famous of them, so Jimmy Walker, who is Jalen Rose's father, actually, that's come out more, in the past 15 years, Jalen Rose from ESPN. He was the only #1 pick to come out of Providence. And then Providence College specifically, Lenny Wilkins, who's in the Hall of Fame as a player and a coach. You got, big names, but kind of smaller unless you really know the league. But Kevin Stakem, Joe Hassett. You got Ryan Gomes, Chris Dunn, other newer guys. God Shamgod, who's
that's right.
Seton Hall Pirates, right? Wasn't he with the Seton Hall Pirates?
I'm sorry?
Where did he play college? Was it in Providence?
Yeah, he played at Providence College.
Okay.
That was the team with like Austin Crochet, and they played against Arizona but then so from my high school, there's a kid named Jamie Silva. He played for the Colts for 3 years. He played in that Super Bowl where they lost against the Saints, but he was a freshman when I was a senior, and he was one of those kids where like, so we actually, not specifically for him, but my senior year was the first year Rhode Island allowed freshmen in high school. And I always joke that it's because to get Jamie Silva to play for varsity, because this kid was like, he played 3 sports. He was amazing.
We lost your voice there for a second. You still there? Tim, you can hear us? May have lost Tim.
Just the audio portion.
Yeah, let's give it a second. Let Tim
He'll be back.
While we're there, let's go to
the comments section.
Yes, good segue, Kent. Sports card nonsense. Welcome to coming to the show. I don't know if Tim's going to shave on camera. We'll ask him. Next one is any truth to being in Rhode Island being dissolved as a state with its population of 19. I'm assuming there's a joke in there somewhere, and I'm going to let Tim talk about it. Let's bring him back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Someone tried to call me.
Oh, no worries.
So we had a fellow in the crowd, or gal or girl, I'm not sure, sport card nonsense. Assuming you may know him or her. Wants to know if you're going to shave on camera. I said no. That's right.
That's guy. So honestly, the name says everything. Sports card nonsense. But no, that's my guy, Gio. Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. And he's asking if it, I'm not going to get into politics here, but I think this is funny.
Well, so
Rhode Island get dissolved.
Yeah, he already defected. He's a Boston guy that moved to Tennessee, so go figure, right? Who knows?
Tennessee? My goodness.
Yeah. I don't know.
Tennessee? Anyways, whatever. Sports card.
Yeah, I'll be giving out his address at the end of the show.
Is it like one Farm Road East? Anyways, name says J.R. Ryder, East Bay Funk Dunk. Yep, that's true. Remember him. It's funny. I grew up in the days. I watched I grew up with like Magic and Bird at their peak, and then Jordan just came in, so I got to see all that. And I was a huge Knicks fan back then before I was a Raptors fan. Yeah, God Shamgod, used to love that name.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he was. I actually met him. It's funny, right? Because I think we're about the same age, but I have this thing of I have a bunch of his cards. Obviously, I have a lot of PC stuff. So when I met him, I was like, Mr. Shamgod, right? We're like the same age, but it's like, Mr. Shamgod, can I get your autograph? I felt like a kid, but it was cool. I have it. Like I got his autograph on one of his rookie cards for the Wizards, and he was drafted. I think he was, if not, he was one of the first. Well, he played with Jordan. I'm sorry, he didn't get drafted by Jordan, but he played with Jordan.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Eric is saying there are 23 people in. I'm thinking he's taking the population of Rhode Island. I think that's what he's getting into.
I'm just proud that he can see the screen. I know he needs glasses. So.
And then it did just he says, yeah, so Shotgun God, and then he's asking about Jamal Thomas.
Yeah, so Jamal Thomas, so that whole team is and he has some cards too. He's actually, that whole family is from like Coney Island. So he's like not Shamgod, Stephon Marbury's cousin. So that
no way.
Even like he got game with like the Jesus Shuttlesworth, that Lincoln team, that story's based essentially on Stephon Marbury. So that whole family, yeah, no, Jamal Thomas was one of the greatest dunkers at that time in college, at least. I want to say, I don't know if he made the league. I don't think I have any NBA cards. I have a bunch of his Providence College cards, though.
Interesting. Yeah, Steph Marbury. I just watched a Netflix documentary on him. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting character as well. So let's get back to you because I want to talk about your collection. So what did you collect when you were younger?
So yeah, big Isaiah Ryder, like I said. Oh man, see, I look, Jordan, Shaq. There really wasn't much Rhode Island stuff at that time when I was a kid. I just remember I'd go caddying since I was 10 years old. I'd take the $20 to $40 I would make, ride my bike to this place called Wexler's Rare Coin, and buy those 96, 97 Flair showcase packs at $4 a pack. Those things are like $250, $300 a pack now. I was buying, like the 90s hoop set. So like, I promise at that time, it's not that I had a collection. Obviously, every Jordan that came out got sleeved, but I just really enjoyed opening essentially hobby boxes at that time, because I didn't realize to this day that like for Christmas I'd get an NBA Hoops hobby box, right? 1990. Yeah. Now at that time, $60 is a lot, right, for a hobby box.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I look back on it now, like I could, like, well, I'm trying to get to that point, but I can't see where I can give my kid a hobby box, right? So I just really appreciate my father got me into collecting. But yeah, it was really, I would just rip anything. I would collect everything. I didn't like Karl Malone, Reggie Miller, John Stockton. So those guys never got sleeved. And I've actually gone back to my parents' house and go, oh no, okay, let me get this stuff together. And so it's like penny sleeve now. I still can't bring myself to put those guys in top loaders.
Did you? What about the Admiral?
Who was it?
What about the Admiral, David Robinson?
Yeah, not my cup of tea. Yeah, I don't know. I was just like I'm like a Rodman guy, right? So like Jordan, Rodman, Pippen, that whole team, cool coach. Dickie Simpkins from Providence won 3 rings with the Bulls. I liked Isaiah Ryder, right? He got kicked out of the league. So like I just like I don't know, like really unique people, but it was really I guess because I was such a fan of those Jordan Bulls that I didn't like anyone that gave him any competition.
See, I was a Knicks fan before I became a Raptors fan, and I grew up with John Stark, Patrick Ewing, Anthony Mason, and I loved those guys. But man,
yeah, see,
I hated Jordan growing up because he would kill my Knicks.
Patrick Ewing's another guy I didn't necessarily like, which made me not like the Knicks. But then, like, I did like the certain teams when they had Larry Johnson, like John Starks. I know was good. Like, even when they had the Sprewell, when Sprewell came.
Yeah.
So it's not even like I didn't like teams. It was more like there was always one player on each team that I didn't like. Plus, he was a Georgetown guy.
That's what I was about to say. He was a Hoya.
Yeah, well, I was a Rodman. Rodman was my guy. Rodman and Barkley were my guys growing up. Those are the two. I love Barkley. I hated the 76ers, but I loved Barkley.
I still have all my stuff from them. I have some good like quality stuff from the Metal Universe series. I don't know why those two specifically aren't worth more than what they're worth, but yeah, guys like that, I can't believe some of these new guys go up in value and these guys stay the same. So I'm going to hold on to them. Hopefully someday they get the recognition.
For sure. So let's go back to my questions here. So I wanted to ask you a question, and this is a prelude to later questions, but when you were a kid, did you like throwing things?
Oh, I grew up at that time where like everyone was essentially, well, actually I grew up at the time before everyone was told they had ADHD and there was like no medication. like, listen, I have a lot of fun, and it was more of I didn't want to get in trouble, but I would throw myself around. We just have a lot of good time, man. It's like it wasn't like if my mother's meal was so good that I would break the plate. You know, is I wasn't throwing things around. If I saw a good TV show, I wasn't slamming the TV. No, this is more recent. So as you can see, I'm maturing even more as I grow older.
Okay. Just checking. I just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah.
So, usually there are parallels from childhood to adulthood, and I was like, maybe. Let me just ask you what's here. Infomatic. So he just answered the question of J.R. Ryder. He said, and Ewing is from Massachusetts. Yeah, he was a beast. He was a beast. The Knicks. We were so close so many times. Anyways, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Just a fadeaway away.
What's that?
Just a fadeaway away.
Dude, when Starks went, there was that one game where Starks went 0 for 19 from the 3-point line. I don't know what game that was. 0 for 19, 0 for 18. He just couldn't throw anything.
It happened.
And I was like, we were home. We were home that game. Anyways, I don't want to talk about it. I'm still bitter, even though I'm a Raptors fan. So we've established you like to throw things. Okay, that's great. Let's get to the next question. So you one of the themes in your journey to what you're doing now is you've kind of done things a little bit differently, right? Some people, they go through the process, they go to school, they go to education and post-secondary education, but you decided to do a bit of a different thing. You chose to do the University of Life and traveled across the USA. So tell us, what did you learn about your stateside travels, and what did you glean from that? What did you learn from that?
Yeah, so I moved. I don't know. I always was real independent. I moved right out of my parents' house, like day after graduation. As soon as I turned 18, my birthday's May 24th. So as soon as I graduated, which was early June, moved out, and that itself was a learning experience. Right, I probably wasn't ready, right? But I did go to Rhode Island College for just that summer, and it just wasn't for me. I just was done with that structure, right? So I spent essentially a year and a half in Providence, and my roommates, like, this is how I really used to do it, and it kind of shows how I am now. We woke up one morning, a good friend of mine, Jay. We woke up one morning, and he's like, "Let's move to Florida." And at that time, we only, like, where do you go in Florida, right? We were 18, so it's like, you're not going to go to Miami, right? So we were just like, let's go to Orlando, right? We're from Rhode Island. We don't know any better. So we moved to Orlando. From Orlando, I met, and we did that, and like, we literally drove down 2 days later, got an apartment, drove home, saved up money, moved back. And so during that experience, I met a bunch of good people in Orlando from all over the country. And I had an opportunity from someone I met down there to work a summer job on this resort island called Fisher's Island. It's right off the coast of New York. It's all big money. I was working maintenance out there, and I met a bunch of good people there that were from all over the country. And one of them, they knew I liked to travel, and I would literally drop on a dime and go somewhere. One was from Texas, one was from California. They were like, "Hey, if you ever want to come down, you can stay with us, whatever." So I drove to Austin, Texas, right outside of Austin, Texas. I was living in a trailer park, in a walk-in closet was my room. And then I go back to that resort island and then moved to California. And I was living in just like in a room in an actually nice house. And from there, met someone, moved up to San Francisco, where I was essentially homeless. I was living either in my car or on a couch. It was a bad scenario. Then did the same thing like a year later in Miami. I was essentially homeless in Miami, living out my car. But every time I did it, it wasn't because of that I was out of money. It was just that I had certain dreams, and it was like whatever I had to do to make it, right? So I thought at the time Miami would be a good move. I went down there with nothing, ended up sleeping in my car, got a job to support what my dream was at that time, and ended up getting a studio apartment in Hollywood, Florida. So it's not that like I lost anything. I just had a dream and I would just take off before I had any true plan, right? And it's kind of the same way that happens now, right? Like I had this idea for this product.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. However, it seems to be working and I'm learning as I'm going and it seems to be working out. So that's what traveling taught me, is to put yourself out there, talk to so many different types of people I met. I lived all over the country. So many good people. You learn really quickly when you're in that scenario, especially when you don't have anything and don't have a place to stay, like who really has your back. And I still talk to, I would say, about 99% of the people that from I was 18 till now that I traveled around with.
What was your dream back then?
So essentially just to make it, I guess, would be like, so when I moved to Miami, I was managing a musical group, right? But what we were really doing is selling CDs on South Beach, right? The dream was to, I guess, manage a big time group. Now, I wouldn't say we didn't make it, because those guys are actually still making music and everything. It just became not, once you get into it, you're like, well, this isn't for me, right? With California, I would say I just had a dream of, I was still real young at that time, so I just wanted to travel. There was no plan. Like I knew with my personality that I could essentially get any job, right? As long as I can get in front of you for an interview, I can get the job. So I always thought like that.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, the problem with thinking like that is your work history is terrible, right? When you move around each year, your work history is just terrible. And at that time, I was just taking, dishwasher jobs, restaurant dishwasher jobs, or management jobs in restaurants. So I don't know. You just really learn how to deal with people through everything, and what your limit is, and really that there's always a bright light ahead, even through like the tough times.
So there's a reason why I went there, right? Because there is, what I'm trying to do when I talk to you is I'm trying to bring out a theme. I want people to learn like who the real Tim is, right? What are your motivators? What are your passions? Where did you come from to get here? Because I think it's really important that people understand, in such a corporate environment that we're in, like everything is so scripted. I want to show and share. We want to share the unscripted stories, right? What are, some guy did it a bit differently, and that's where the inspiration comes from. So that's why I'm kind of poking those questions at you to do that. So I think this is a good place where I'm going to transfer it over to Kent. So Kent, I'm going to transfer it over to you. So I've gone over the college university question, and you can take over.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to the recent pandemic. Can you tell us how that affected your work situation when the pandemic hit?
Yeah. So it's weird, right? Because it was right around March 15th. I figured out it was right around March 15th because me and my fiance were getting ready to go to New York City to watch Providence College in the next round of the Big East tournament. And they actually canceled one of the games at halftime. And then that's when all the NCAA tournament games started to get canceled. So then I think a week went by and I got the call that I was furloughed, right? And that sounds fancier than laid off or fired, right? But so then I forget exactly, I want to say a month goes by after that, I get the call that I won't be coming back. Essentially, everyone got demoted, right? So like the executive chef, I was a head chef at this place. The executive chef, everyone gets bumped out. I was just one of the last 10 people hired. No hard feelings, right? It happens, right? And at that point, not to say that it was fun because it was the beginning of the pandemic and people didn't really know what was going on. It wasn't that bad, right? We were getting the extra money, right? We were getting unemployment. Everything was fine. We're just, you're just living. I'm spending more time with my fiance. We're getting things done, right? And so in the beginning, it wasn't that bad. And so I went through a period though where I started selling like my collection, right? All my stuff on eBay. So I was making money on eBay. So in the beginning, like it seems fine. And I always say this, I told my fiance once this idea had popped up, was I really feel like we can come out of this pandemic in a better place because it just gave us time. And I know we're going to talk about it a little later, but then an event happens that kind of changes everything more than the pandemic itself.
Right. So when you realized that you're out of work and that was in full effect, and then your fiance has a situation where she breaks her ankle, what was your mindset at that point when you realized your fiance had broken her ankle?
Well, let's be honest, right? We can be honest. When she broke her ankle, we had a few drinks because we were celebrating the fact that I just proposed to her. So my
Mm,
mindset at that time was pure confusion. But
right.
so I, I had this idea before uh, the ankle break, right? But I don't know if I wouldn't say lack of motivation, but there wasn't like a clear path with it. Like, okay, like what am I going to do with it now? So I asked my fiance my girl at that time to marry me. Beautiful in Providence. There's a beautiful walking bridge over the water. And I didn't mean it for it to happen, but I planned it for 8 o'clock, and it just like sunset was at 8:03. I had two friends there, one filming it, one taking pictures that she didn't recognize, so I can get it all on video. And like I had it
Wow.
all set up perfect, right? So I asked her to marry me. She says yes. We go to a restaurant. The owner, I'm telling everyone, like I don't care, right?
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
telling everyone. I just asked her. So the owner of the restaurant and the table next to us, they buy us shots. So then we leave there. A few of her friends showed up because they knew I was going to ask her, so they wanted to celebrate. So we go to this next bar. We only went to 2 bars. We're about to leave. I go to the restroom. I walk out, and she's on the ground. She's not really screaming, but something's wrong.
Right.
And so at that time, I literally am so confused because she's on the ground. And she ends up essentially just tripping over her own feet and spiral fractures her ankle in 3 places.
Ouch.
The ambulance takes her. I can't go with her because of it was in the middle of the pandemic at that time.
Right. Right.
And so the night went from like literally I just walked out of the bathroom to all this craziness, right? And so now, I think you have to wait a little bit. I forget how many weeks she had to wait, but maybe just a week. So then she has surgery on her ankle and she has a metal plate put in. And now she's essentially sitting next to me for 3 months with a cast on her ankle. And that during that time, I don't exactly remember the day that I decided we had nothing to lose, but she actually not only she didn't officially get let go of work, but she couldn't work, right? She was a bartender, so she couldn't work. And she got denied unemployment because it wasn't COVID related.
Oh, wow. Really?
Right. Yeah. We fought it. We appealed it. It took 11 weeks on appeal, and after 11 weeks, they still denied it. And that's when the real desperation of a combination of something's got to give, but also I don't want to ever be in this situation again to where I'm working for someone that they can't even do this to me. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the real turning point, is the true desperation of going down to nothing. Like I always say, I lost everything. I didn't lose my apartment. I had a really good landlord, and I didn't lose my fiance, right? She's sitting right over here next to me now. But essentially you just lose everything. I had to sell off a lot of my like real personal collection that I'll never get back. A lot of this stuff it took me years to find, and no one's going to sell it back to me. To essentially keep us afloat, but also make this happen, like make the dream happen. So it was really that scenario that truly like set me on a path of I can't give up, and there's no reason to give up, right? Like,
oh, for sure. But that's just wow. That's I don't know what to say to that. I mean,
I don't know. There's a buildup that's coming here, right? Like you can see, it's almost like character building. It's building your character and it's showing what you've gone through, what you've done, your mindset. Honestly, the fact that you kept going through all of this, like all the little pitfalls, is a pretty monumental task in of itself, because it shows that you're willing to just keep going, right? You just keep going. You have to figure it out. It is what it is.
And and I say the ankle break is kind of like the turning point, but more importantly, she is like 100% behind it. Like she knows the risk of trying to start a business.
Sure.
She knows what she sees behind the scenes, what I go through, like the anxiety, the stress of starting a bit, like the good anxiety, like the happy anxiety. And so like without her, probably could, and I don't mean the ankle break part, like without the whole situation, plus her being who she is, I really could not do this. Like I wouldn't, that was one of the things too, right? That's part of not going back to work, is to create the environment to like build a family upon, right? Because we're getting married next year with this. We don't have any kids. But that's the point of it all, right? Is to build something now. So she's real strong for me too.
If she's listening, tell her to cover her ears for a second, because I want to ask her a question.
She heard it.
Is your wedding ring going to have bumpers on it?
No. So I'm giving her an ankle bracelet. When I get down on, if I ever get down on one knee again, it'll be to tie her shoes, not her heels, because that was the problem. She was wearing heels. No, actually, no. So she said she'll never wear heels again now because she's like scared to walk on it. But so she was wearing flip flops. I go back the next day. The reason how I found out how it actually happened was because it was on video. So I asked the owner of the bar, like, what happened, and he's like, Tim, she just tripped over her own feet. So I go back. There's a bloody flip flop because when her ankle broke, it like scraped the concrete. There was still a flip flop and a jean jacket in the road.
Wow.
So I got her flip flop for her, and it's like, yeah, she's cherishing it.
Interesting. So I'm glad she's not listening, because that'd be an interesting gift to do on your wedding day, the bumper ring. So anyway, we'll come back. Go back to you, Kent.
Yes. So Tim, how important is it to you have a partner who's going to be soon to be your wife, but who's also very supportive of what you're endeavoring to do here?
Oh, so honestly, more important than anything, because without so if she had any going back to the restaurant is more important, to have a secure job. If we would have that conversation, I most likely would have listened and then but still tried to do this, but not with the same passion of her literally being behind it 100% and seeing or hearing the phone calls that I get of people that I consider big time people calling me, and so she knows what's going on. But like I said, I don't know what would have happened if she was we both have to go back to work. There's just go back to the restaurant. Yeah. So and also her family too. That's a big part, right? Because she has parents, right? And you got to respect the parents. My parents have been great. My brother actually loaned me for my business the first $400 to start the search process for my patent. So it's been a lot of people, and then people in the hobby too. Some of the people watching right now have all been supportive, and it honestly means the world to me. And I think they know that, because in this hobby, when a new product comes in, even new cards, there's a lot of pressure to do well, right? And to be so. Yeah, I can just say that everyone, including my fiance, have been real supportive.
There's another angle there as well, right? So there's a couple things, right? The one is the perseverance, one is the networking, just having good people around you. Your soon-to-be wife is you're very lucky that she's supporting, and she's lucky to have you, kind of thing. So you'll notice that you seem to have a means of having good people centralized around you, which is a neat thing to have, and not everyone has that. So you're very lucky and fortunate. And for those of you watching, you're going to see all this is going to come out in the story we're telling right now. So back to you, Kent.
So that leads me into this very proverbial question. So when you were going through the patent process, what made you determine that you were going to name this Slab Strong?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to do. So I have I still own 5 domain names, including slabstrong.com, because my first initial thought when I first even made the product, I took a screw down because it's about the size of a slab.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I did it with a Cricut. I made it did the design. So at that time, when I first thought of it, it was simply about changing the color of slabs and giving it like your own unique look. I didn't have the protection thing in mind. So I had Slab Bright. I had like Slab Life. I think I own like Slab Cardcino, which is like referring to like shuffling the cards within my product or whatever. And I forget the other name, but essentially, I liked the name Slab Strong. When I first thought of that, I just didn't want people to think that I was kind of downplaying or disrespecting any of like the strong movements, because a lot of time when you hear something strong, it's a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So I thought of that at first, and no one really thought that way when I was saying it to him, but it was just always in the back of my mind. Like, so I stuck with Slab Strong, and I don't know. I think it flows. I can pronounce all the letters in the name, so that helps too. You know,
That definitely helps.
yeah, easy to spell.
Can't really make a mistake with it either.
So tell us about how you came to think of the idea for Slab Strong bumper sleeves.
Yeah, so like I said, when I thought of it, I wanted to change the color. So then when you go through, and the other thing too is the theme of is I don't really know what I'm doing. Is I watch Shark Tank a lot, right? So I know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, like even though I've never built a business, I kind of pay attention to what questions are asked, right? And even if I don't know the answer, at least I know the question now, and I can get the answer, right? So they always talk about patents. So the first thing I did once I had my drawings and a 3D printed, which was, oh man, I forgot to grab it, a 3D printed prototype. I knew I had something, so I went right away and got it searched through the USPTO, and then once that search went through, paid right away for to get the patent. Which that was the one that truly, when I say like I lost everything in the pandemic, I used the rest of my money to start the patent process. So that was another thing. Like when I brought home the prototype, I literally, like, as a joke, and luckily she smiled, I was like, this case is worth $4,000, right? Because that's not the exact amount of a patent, but to start it, right? And luckily, like, she was like, oh, like, you better sell them now, right? And luckily I got the price point down. But that's what it was like, was, okay, the first thing I want to do is I watch Shark Tank. They always talk about patents. Get a patent, do whatever you have to do to get a patent. And then once you have that paperwork done, just start showing people, and show just enough people for not to get stolen, and then show the right people to get the right opinions. And I think we're going to talk about it later too, but you know, Peter Pac-Man, which you guys have had on before, right? So Pac-Man is one of those guys that's like real supportive of me, but also like anything in the hobby, and he's like a real good hobby guy. I got connected with him in a way which we'll talk about later, but yeah, it was just the patent process. It's kind of a waiting game, and there's a lot of lawyer talk that I have someone look at for me, you know.
Amit, I'm going to throw it over to you to ask about the Dallas show.
Okay, so up to here, we kind of learned what was Tim like as a kid, what was his passions, what is his character like what type of person he is, how he's passionate about it and he wants to chase his dream. So now we're going to get into a bit of a timeline that's on steroids, and the reason I'm saying this, you'll understand. Tim's company is not that old. Like, we're talking. It hasn't even hit its 6-month anniversary yet. So let's just keep that in mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Hasn't hit its 6-month anniversary yet. So, Tim, tell us about the Dallas show and what that launched for you.
Yeah. So essentially, I'll start off a couple weeks leading up to it. Now I'm getting a lot of support and like go get them type things, right, from guys like Peter Pac-Man and my guy Marlon Wells that introduced me to Pac-Man. And then, so I saw a product called Show Your Slabs, and I can call him a friend now. But so my friend Corey has this product called Show You Slabs. Didn't know him at all. Sent him a message on Facebook and just said simply, I like your product. I just want you to see mine, right? I just want you to see my product and know who I am. And I sent him a few pictures. He essentially likes it, says, hey, let's meet up. I think it was a few days later, I take a 6-hour drive to Baltimore, go to his office. He asked me, he was the first person I've ever thrown it in front of because he has like a second floor. And he was like, hey, Tim, do you want to throw it? And I wasn't sure, right? Because I've done it. I've tested it. But, you know, when you throw something like that, that's supposed to protect something in front of someone for the first time. You're like,
yeah.
So we become friends. And he says to me, I have a table at this Dallas card show coming up. You can come. He told me I could set up at it. Like he knows now that I can't sit behind a table, but then he didn't, right? So I show up there and it's him, a guy named Dap Sports, who's an awesome guy, and stand-up displays. Another friend of mine, Dan. Now we're all friends now, right? So we're all set up at this table. And I don't know what's going on, right? Like, essentially, this is my second time, like, hanging with Corey, meeting everyone, meeting Dan for the first time. I met Pac-Man at that show for the first time. And so what's wild is I only went to Dallas with 13 PSA cases. That's it. When I say cases, I mean individual bumper sleeves, right?
Right.
Yeah, so one of these. Like this.
Yeah. I gave 8 away to different people that I had watched on YouTube and stuff like that. So I gave 8 away, and I had 5 of my own that I had on my own slabs, right? So at that point, I'm just excited to be there. You know, I'm becoming friends with all these guys, meeting people that I've talked to on an app called Clubhouse or social media. And so I'm thinking to myself, what's the best way? Like, how do I show people my product without them thinking that it's just a little flimsy frame for my product? Mm-hmm. So I started walking up to people and just throwing it at them. And so the first video you see is, and he's a great guy, and his editor, if they ever see this, they already know they're my favorite. His editor's my favorite. Not because the slab broke, because he just edited in a way that made me look really cool. So I walk up to Ryan Johnson of Card Collector 2. He's the young guy out of Ohio that's like building a crazy community of card collectors. But I throw it at his feet. They put that on his YouTube channel. I start getting a little bump there. I made some friends with the guys at the Tampa Card Shop. Did the same thing, throw it. They put me on their social media. I made friends with the guys at Whatnot. I made friends, like everybody, right? I'm making friends. And I honestly did not know his real name at the time. Mm-hmm. I see Geoff Wilson. I see the sports card investor, right? And I look at my fiance and I say, I'm going to go throw it at him. And she's just like, okay, like, that's fine. So I walk up to him. I have my product in my hoodie. You'll see me. I'm always wearing the same hat. I have a few different hats for anyone who doesn't think I do laundry. I got a few different ones. But you always see me in the same gear. I'm just trying to, so people recognize me all the time. And
this is still at the Dallas show, right?
Yeah, this is at the Dallas show.
Yeah, okay.
And so yeah, I walk up to him. I have my product in my hoodie. I look him right in the eye and I say, my name's Tim. I am the founder and creator of Slab Strong. I just want you to know who I am. That's all I said to him. And I take my product out of my hoodie. He goes to reach for it, and I just throw it at his feet, right? And he, like I'm telling him to dance, right? Like I'm shooting bullets at him.
Yeah, right.
So he steps back. He puts both his hands up, and he's like, "I was not expecting that." Essentially, we talked for like a minute, and then he's like, "Hey, shoot me an email." And I'm like, that was the coolest thing possible, right? Because at this point, it's my first show, and now I'm truly throwing it at this point, right? And it's working. So as I'm throwing it and as it's working, right, nothing's breaking. I've already done tests before that, but you never know, right? Mm-hmm. I just start throwing it more and harder. And so, yeah, so the Dallas show, so that's just day one. That's just day one that I realized. So now the next day, Corey Daps goes to the guy I was talking about. Daps, he had just bought a $10,000 Joe Burrow card, and
Wow.
he knows this now. We did switch out the card,
Oh, okay.
but the one we really threw also didn't break. But we made this video of, we put a slab strong on his $10,000 card. We throw it about 30 feet like a football. It doesn't break, and then we show him the video obviously when he comes back later. The funny part is, this is before, you know, I even emailed Geoff back. Geoff ends up buying that same card off him and then sees the video of us throwing it. And later on, when we talked more, he asked me, he was like, you know, I didn't see that video before I bought it. And he was like, did you guys really damage it? And we were like, no, man, everything's fine. As you can see, everything's fine. So that Dallas event, so everything is great, right? Like, I'm having so much, I'm having fun. I wasn't making any sales because I only had 13 pieces, but I'm having fun, and I see that people like it and that people are willing to give me a chance, right? But I left Dallas, so this is after the patent process. This is after throwing it at Geoff. I leave Dallas with total to my name $800 total, no savings, nothing, because I put all my money into the patent and
Sure.
to get to Dallas. And like I said, luckily Corey had put me at his table. So now I'm back to essentially square one, right? I went to Dallas, it worked, I'm having a good time, but I have $800 to my name and I got rent to pay. And then the Nationals is coming up, right? So
So just before you get to the National, just before you go there, I want to say hi to one person which I missed earlier. So Bobby Burrell, if you're still there, sorry I didn't see you till just now.
Bobby Burrell.
His maturity is, well, we're gonna get into that. So we're getting right into the meat of his maturity.
Oh yeah, he's talking. Yeah. I went out to dinner. It's awesome because Eric's a really good guy, and he's technically only liked by me in the country of Canada because he loves vintage hockey cards. But he had introduced me to Bobby, and I actually went out to a steak dinner with Bobby Burrell, and he's awesome.
Yeah, Bobby's a great guy, and he's our resident hockey historian. So anything to do with hockey, he knows.
Yeah.
First, I want to say hi to Abiel Ramirez. Hello, how are you?
What's up, Abiel?
Or Abiel, sorry. And he's saying shout out to Corey because that's who you were just talking about.
Yep.
Eric was saying Corey likes throwing those things more than Tim does. Yes, and we're going to get into that really soon. And Infomatic was saying slab strong, show your slab, and stamp displays are the three wise men of hobby. So you have some accolades there. Okay, so I want everyone to just pause for a second. So you heard how crazy the Dallas show was. Okay. The Dallas show was the show prior to the Nationals. So remember when COVID hit, excuse me, everything was shut down. So the real big show that came out was Dallas. So the hype was insane on Dallas. Like everyone and their dog was going to Dallas. So now the National was like very soon after, a few weeks after, they were like, okay, Nationals full blown. We're going. The Nationals going to happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I literally, he knows this too. That's my guy. I always give Corey his props because I don't think that I would have went to that Dallas card show if he didn't, and then I would have been behind, right? Because I met a lot of good connections in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I was planning on launching my product at the National, and I look back and I realized how important, because of that, when the Dallas card show happened, people weren't sure if it was going to happen. People still weren't sure if the National was going to happen. Yeah. So to get to the Dallas show, that was very important because at that point the National could still get canceled. So then once all that happens, I'm like, all right, now I'm just going to kill it at the National. I have so much confidence with how I can present my product. I already have a bunch of guys that I haven't met yet, but we've talked about on social media, and we became friends on social media. And you start meeting those people at the National. So yeah, the National for me, I ended up walking over 50 miles. My fiance told me how to like check on my iPhone app. I ended up walking about 50 miles just in the building by itself during the National, which I'm from Rhode Island and my state's only 49 miles long. So I essentially in 4 days walked my state. And I was just zipping around doing my pitch. Every time I thought that I was winded, I'd meet somebody, or like Peter Packman showed up with a film crew following him, and he told me to walk around with him. So like, you gotta, like, every time that I felt like to rest, I would meet someone I wanted to meet, like a Jeremy Lee, right? Or I would meet like Mike Gio, like or all these guys, right? And it just kept me going. So for 4 days, but I'm telling you, on the ride home from that, oh, I was gone, man. Like, so exhausting. Plus the heat that was there, the amount of people that were there was overwhelming. But the national couldn't have been better. I actually, so I was able to really early, I think it was my 3rd day in business, so May 23rd. It was before I left Dallas. I got contacted. I got contacted by PSA themselves, right? And so that's already amazing, right? That I could even talk to anyone at PSA. So fast forward to the national, PSA had, if you weren't there, PSA had this massive setup at the national. And all their employees and everybody that was associated with PSA was wearing masks. And, you know, I'm the type of person, I want to just introduce myself. I don't care if you're the janitor for PSA or you're Nat, right? I want you to know who I am. That's all it's about. I'll get my product out, just know who I am. So I walk up to a couple of guys, they're wearing masks, and I say, hey, you know, did Terry Malia make it out? Terry Malia is the PR specialist for PSA.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy says to me, no, but you're Tim, right? And I say, yeah. He goes, you're Slab Strong? I go, yep. And he goes, I'm Steve Sloan. Now, Steve Sloan is the president of PSA, and now he got promoted to the president of Collectors Universe. And standing next to him, the other guy with the mask, is a guy named Brandon Wells, and he is their business development guy. So right there and then, it's like, you know who I am and like my product. Like, that's what this product was all about. Like, I have other brands of slabs. I have BGS, HGA, and the other SGC and CSG are coming, but my product is made for PSA, right? That's my the first one I made it for. They're the king. So that experience itself, and I promise you, I'm not crazy. I'm walking away from that situation. Actually, I am crazy, but I promise you, this is a real story. I'm walking away, and Nat Turner comes walking by, and Nat Turner, like, you don't know who Nat Turner is unless you like really know his face, because he's just a normal guy, right? He just normal clothes. He's not fancy at all. He's wearing like a dad hat over his eyes, and I see him read my hat, read my shirt, and then say hi to me. So I'm gonna pretend like him and I are best friends as well, because he said hey.
That's awesome. By the way, for those Canadians watching, 50 miles is 80 kilometers. Just saying. So you walk.
Yeah, that's another thing that we had to go to 3 gas stations in Canada because Sanderson to Orr couldn't figure out how to pump $114 a gallon. It's hard to explain that, you guys talking liters. He was very nervous. He took out a bank loan.
I can actually see that too.
We literally went to 3 different gas stations before he could figure out how to pump the gas, because it said 114, and he was like, "What does that mean?" He just.
That's true.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, I can see a heart attack at $114 a gallon is probably what he's thinking. Let's just go to some comments here. So, Corey's here. Show your slab. So he says, oh, sorry, slipped over him. Show your slab says Slab Strong rules. Try to say show your slab to Slab Strong rules 3 times fast. Anyways, we got Ganeck here. Thanks for coming to check us out.
Oh yeah, Eric, yeah, I met him.
Eric says his mother likes him. Well, that's a given. That's a gimme, because I don't think you could ever have it any other way. Yep, Yannick is saying my friend Tim. And yeah, Eric, just so you know, Tim looking at you after you said this, but I'm just going to leave it here for a second. All right, we left it here. Okay.
No, one more. The very bottom there.
Oh, we're getting there. Show your slabs likes Tim too, and Eric, I guess. I don't know. We'll see where that one is. Oh, and then there's and I hate you.
Eric says he hates you.
Okay, Eric hates you.
Not really a big deal.
Not really a big deal. Well, he's a Boston fan, so I could care less.
Yeah.
And then asked him about his huge orders for book after the SCI event. We'll get to there in a second, Corey. We're holy cow, it's 54 minutes. We should get going. So let me see where we are with the questions. I'm going to send it back over to you, Kent, to go into the Aoki story.
Yeah, so Tim, tell us about this famous video where Steve Aoki has one of your cases in his.
Oh, that was the coolest
Yeah.
thing possible. So, how we talked about earlier. So, I would say the 3 first people that had ever saw my product from the beginning, and I'll be quick with the beginning part, but it leads up to it.
Yeah, sure.
Is Renee, and I cannot pronounce. It's like Nazalda. He's the guy. He's the German guy, the big German guy on Storage Wars.
Oh, right. I know.
Marlon Wells.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I just had a random experience with him, so he just loves it. A guy named Marlon Wells, my guy Marlon Wells, and Marlon essentially introduced me to Peter Pac-Man. And like we talked about before, Peter Pac-Man's all about expanding the hobby. So through Peter Pac-Man, I met Reza and Oma, and they are combined this entity called the Hobby Connectors. So they're just real good guys. They have massive cards. You know, they literally are hobby connectors, right? They know everybody and they like to connect everybody. They're just good people that I assume I'm a good person. They link me with everybody, right? So Peter, and Dario too. So Peter Pac-Man puts on an event with Reza Omar at this beautiful, I don't know how to describe it, but it was a beautiful, like, I want to say 2 or 3 floor loft right next to Wrigley Field, right? Like, wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. And so at that point, I'm up there with, Rob G walks up. Rob G, is the guy that owns the $5.2 million Mickey Mantle. So Rob G's there. If you look at that video, he's also in that video watching. But before that, I was talking to him, and I did my pitch for Rob G too. I threw it at his feet, and he thought it was funny. He loved it, right? There was a Costa Cards there. A guy named Chris Costa, who's like taking over the New England area with card shops, was there. And Corey from Show Your Slabs was there as well with his crew. A great artist named Matt, Art by Matt, was there, right? So all these awesome people that I'm meeting, and Sappy Sports Cards there, right? All these awesome people that I'm meeting are there. And earlier that day, my friends at Whatnot had given away a PSA 9 Jordan, and they asked me for a red case for my red Slab Strong so they could give it away. And those guys did awesome for me. Like, they email blasted their customers. At some point, they run into Steve Aoki. They ask him to hold up the giveaway. At that point, the giveaway had my case on it, right?
Right, yeah.
So I don't think Steve at that point knew exactly what he was holding up, that it was part of my case. And Geoff Wilson, the sports card investor, is also at this party. So Aoki comes upstairs, right? And he's doing his thing. I'm not really, like, at that point, he's just meeting everyone. He knows everyone there already. And he's about to leave. And I really said to myself, like, there's no way that I can't at least say thank you for holding up my product.
For sure.
So, right. And I didn't know what to call him, right? Do you call him DJ? Do you call him Aoki? So I just said, hey, Steve. He was about to leave. I said, I just want to thank you. I know you don't know who I am, and I know you don't know necessarily what my product is, but you held it up today for Whatnot. And he was like, oh, yeah, that was cool. Like, you're welcome. And that's when he says to me, when you see the video start, it's because he says, has anyone ever thrown them? And my fiance is standing there, and she knows what to do when someone asks me, like, has anyone ever thrown it, right? So the video starts off with him, right before the video starts, he asked me, has anyone ever thrown it? So I throw it at his feet. I make him laugh. I look over at Rob G, and I tell him to pitch me his $5.2 million mantle with my case on it, and I'll hit him with a bat. He says no, but it makes him laugh. He says that Steve can do it with his illustrator. And it was just one of those scenarios where, because those are big time collectors in the hobby that
right.
deal with high end stuff, for those guys to see it as a real product was cool. And then obviously the factor of it's Steve Aoki, and I'm making him laugh. He likes my product. He currently has like 5 of them. He's shown it off on his Instagram before. It's just amazing. Now, keep in mind when was the national again? Was it November?
Actually, I've forgotten now. Though the Dallas show was in March, I think.
National was in
I went to the one in May, and then but essentially what I'm saying is from the time of me getting to do my pitch for Aoki, which just like was a cool experience.
For sure.
It definitely helped with getting my name out there because of Aoki being attached to it and him being in the card role, and then Rob G in it. They ended up like liking the video and all that stuff. So that was just a crazy, awesome experience for me.
Absolutely. Now this kind of segues into my next question, though. So you also ended up reaching out to Geoff Wilson. So can you explain how you ended up partnering with him?
Yeah, I threw it at him. I threw it at him, and I told him I won't stop throwing it at him until he invests. No, that's not what happened. But he did introduce me to his wife and his kids in Atlanta, and he had walked away for a little bit. And now I'm standing with them. He comes back and just smiles at me, and he looks at his wife and goes, "Did Tim do his pitch for you?" And with like a kind of like smile on the face, she goes, "Yes, he did," because I really threw like 6 of them at the general direction of his family. Because it was my first time meeting them, so I had to tell them the story of how I met Geoff, and I had to show them. So that was pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah. So in Dallas, I literally throw it at him. He tells me he does email me. I would say about a week, maybe 2 weeks go by, but I email him, and in the subject line, I just write honest advice, because at that point, I still don't know how to run a business, right? Like I still don't know what I'm doing. I just know that my product works and I can sell it.
Right.
So I asked him for honest advice, and he took his time out. He was not invested with me. He just took his time out. He said that he could call me the next day. We had a Zoom meeting or I think it was just a call at like 2:30 the next day. And he took his time out. I'm sure he had some inkling that he wanted to invest, right? But
sure.
We didn't talk about anything. He literally called me based off of me just wanting honest advice from him. So I think we talked for about an hour, and he had asked about investing. And then obviously it takes a little bit longer in terms of like the lawyer stuff and all that other stuff to start a business. But yeah, so it just came from his belief in what I was doing and the personal connections I was making in the hobby that were pushing me forward. Because I think he also saw that not only was I a good salesman for it, but I was good at making business relationships that would then lead to other avenues. And it's the same way, like I always go back, man, like Dan from Stand Up to Slays, Corey, like all these guys, Daps, even Geo's on, like all these guys have essentially, in a way, kept pushing me forward, right? And that's, with him, it was like, all right, now I have the guy that has the most eyes on him, right? Like capital is one thing. Obviously, with an investment, you need the capital. But it was more of, he has the most eyes on him. I know he knows business, and I need someone like him. And yeah, it's been great working with him.
So one thing that's important there. So just for the record, I mean, Kent and I don't know Geoff Wilson. We were at the Sport Card Expo. We've seen him, right? I said hello to him, but I don't know Geoff Wilson, right? And I will say, just from talking to you and what you said, and just the fact that he would take time out of his day, and he's done very well in life. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah,
sure.
And he is in a different stratosphere than probably 99% of us. The fact that he took time out of his day to talk to you kind of shows you his character as well. So a lot of people will throw shade without actually really getting to know the guy. I don't even know the guy, and I can tell you right now, just from what you're telling me, and just from that humble experience, he seems like a really good guy, and I will definitely, next time I see him in Toronto, reach out and try and talk to him a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's good to hear that. Like, it's good to hear that. Like, I'm glad to hear that kind of talk. So.
Yeah, and what's even like crazy. So I honestly just thought of this, and this is true. I had just gotten. I had an Android phone like my whole life, and I had just gotten an iPhone so that I could take payments, right? So I could open a Square account and take
Oh,
certain
right. Yeah,
payments
for
and do
sure.
certain things with the phones that you can't do with Android. And when you first get your iPhone going, there is no like, it doesn't recognize your patterns yet, right? So it's not spell checking things for you. My first email to Geoff is riddled with spelling errors, grammatical errors. So for him, like I said, we didn't talk at that point about an investment. But like I said, I'm sure he that might have been part of the reason also, but he literally just took his time to help me. And the fact that after like a monstrous email that made no sense, essentially, he still wanted to give me time, is also just shows like he wasn't judging me based on
Right.
the fact that I can't spell
Right.
worth a lick, which
For
isn't
sure.
my fault, because I didn't even know the letter R existed in the alphabet. So he just, yeah. So he gave me his time, and then we took a few weeks. I forget exactly when. Like I said, a lot of lawyer stuff has to happen, but and the other thing was, he asked me essentially during that advice question, like when he asked me for advice, was, did I want to be an entrepreneur or do I want to work for somebody? And I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and that's when he was like, I think that was the turning point for him, where he saw that I wasn't just trying to get out of it. Like I really want to do this for the long run. So and then he had mentioned something about investing, and then we just kept talking further.
Sure.
So that's awesome. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt there. Go ahead.
No. So speaking of other people that you've met, how does Renee from Storage Wars fit into this whole gamut of people that
Dude,
you've
that's
met?
a weird one, right? So
Right.
so I'm from Rhode Island. He's living in San Diego, right? So in the beginning of the pandemic, when all like the sneakerheads started to stop breaking,
yeah,
I was not a sneakerhead, but I wanted a local guy that was breaking, right? Just so, like, I don't know, get my cards quicker, I guess. So I started to run this group, or help run this group. It wasn't started by me, but I started to run this group called the Sports Cardcino. And I wasn't breaking at that time, but I was doing like little skits and making videos, kind of making fun of us, like making fun of the guys that were breaking. And I just had this idea, and I messaged her, same thing I did to Corey, messaged Renee and said, hey, I'm going to be traveling on the West Coast. I'd love to, like, would you be a part of my vlog? Which I didn't have a vlog. I had nothing, right? So I was just like, and so he said yes. So I was on this road trip with my prototype, and I had set up this thing with him. So I went to the, what's it called? Storage Hunters Bargain Thrift Store, which he runs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I met him at his store, and he couldn't have been better. Like, I have about 45 minutes of footage with him, because I did interview him. Like, I actually did like a vlog type thing that's out on YouTube, and I think it's my old YouTube channel. But he really talked to me for about 3 hours, giving me some really, really great advice. But yeah, how I got to him was literally just, and that's the thing about like not giving up. And if you don't say anything, right? If you don't show anyone the product, if you don't try to get out there, if you don't throw it at people, if you don't talk to people, show the new colors, no one's going to know. You could have the greatest idea possible, but if you don't get it out there, no one's going to know. So for me, it was just an awesome experience to meet someone like him who runs a business and is very good at it. And for him, and to this day, like we talk still to this day, and he is just happy. And I guess I would use the word proud, because he came from Germany as an immigrant, and he built a business. And he told me a lot of people say they're going to do a lot of things, but not everyone takes it to that level. So yeah, the Renee thing was literally, I just messaged him on Facebook and said I wanted to meet him. And I did a little YouTube video with him. And from there, we're now friends. I think you could say.
Now, is he actually a card collector himself?
Oh yeah. So if you watch the video, it's called like Sports Cardcino interviews Renee from Storage Wars.
Okay.
I asked him like when he got back into it, but he was a big time poker chip collector.
Oh,
his whole life. Like he's an actual expert on old Las Vegas vintage poker chips. So he's always been a collector in some sense. But the one thing that he taught me was to not be emotional about selling, right? Because he finds a lot of cool stuff, and he couldn't run a business if he kept it all. But no, he likes certain players. I know he's a fan of the Miami Dolphins. He's a big Steve Nash fan. He got all his rookies.
Wow.
And a Suns fan. I forget who else he's a fan of, but we talked about everything. Like, he can talk cards. He knows what he's talking about.
Awesome. That's an interesting revelation, actually. I mean,
yeah.
I'll throw the rest of the questions over to you, my friend.
Yeah, so I want to just remind everyone. Actually, first of all, let's make sure we address some questions on here. So, okay, well, let's ask this now. So, he wanted to ask you a huge order of the SCI event. So, why don't you tell us about that, and then I'll get into the rest of the comments.
That's my boy Corey, always coming through for me. So, this is one of those situations where I always make Corey look good because I'm a fool, and he's just as funny, but he's way more professional than me. Like, he knows what he's doing. So I go on the Sports Card Investor virtual, right, live.
Right.
Jeff's running an ad for me, and Dan, who's another friend of mine, Stand Up Displays Dan, he went on like an hour before me, and he was like, Tim, like, so many hits to my website. We're doing good with sales, all this stuff, right? So I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Like, this is going to be great. So immediately after, Corey probably wants to make it seem like it was hours after, but it was like right after. I go on the show. I talk to my guys on Clubhouse, and I was, we're just talking, and I say, I'm like, guys, I'm looking at my email. I didn't make any sales. Like, I didn't do anything. Like, this is devastating. And you just hear Corey say, Tim, check your spam email. And I check my spam email, and it's just like 40 orders right away. And then I'm like, oh, all right. But to be fair, I launched a new website that morning, and up until then, I was getting the email straight to my inbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's what, like, I got to give Corey credit on that one. I eventually would have found out, or my business would have went bankrupt because I didn't check my spam email. But Corey was the one that led me to the water on that one.
Awesome. So you have good people in your corner, and he says you're making some heavy assumptions, but we'll save that for your own personal. Yeah. He says that there's not any software that can fix your R's. And Eric agrees that what is an R? Yeah, I don't know what is an R on the East Coast. He's still waiting for the vlog to drop. Yes, we just talked about that, and yeah, he's just laughing at you here. It's good to have a guy like that in your corner. So, going back to the questions, so we've established a theme here. So I think people can see, what you're about, what your story is like, how fast you rose from, doing what you did and where you are now. And the common theme is, and you've had this with you're not afraid to try things. You've established that, right?
Yeah.
You're a good person. You've established that.
Try to be.
You understand the power of connectivity and connection. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've established that. I mean, and Kent and I have met Peter Pac-Man as well, and a few other people. And through, just by knowing Eric, we got to know you. It's a very small hobby from that sense, but the fact is you're still putting yourself out there, right? So there's a lot of like themes here, and I'm hoping that somewhere, whether it's one person or 10 people or whatever it may have, you watch this video and they get inspired. That's all me and Kent want, right? To share that story. So, do you want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah. So, I mean, realistically, right? Like we talk about it. I lost everything last year. Like I said, I didn't lose my apartment. I didn't lose my fiance, but essentially went down to nothing. I'm 39 years old, so I was 38 when I had thought of this. A few things, right? You don't necessarily have to be college educated, which I wish I went to at least 2 years for business management, because this has been a lot. It's happened a lot faster for me. But you can learn a lot by meeting new people and really opening your mind and your ears, and kind of keeping your mouth quiet sometimes, and just taking in what people are giving you. But I've just had so many people that have been such a support that it's really hard to pin down exactly how it all has culminated into this craziness.
And you don't really need to either, right?
Yeah, it's wild
You
because
just,
I
you
don't
just
plan on
enjoy it.
stopping either. Like I love meeting new people. I like you guys. I just met. Like I knew what cardboard culture was, but I just met you guys in Toronto, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just been amazing this whole. And then this, I think what a lot of times that a few people that have really kind of been a big support of me, but also kind of showed me that this could be a thing was on two spectrums, right? So Carvin Chung, right?
Yep.
Everyone knows
Yep.
who Carvin is. He doesn't even like graded cards, right? He loves the hobby. He
Raw.
loves
He's a
his
raw
raw
guy.
cards. He just loves cards, and he's supportive, right? So I got someone that doesn't even necessarily going to use my product, but he's big time supportive. And then you got someone like Eric Sanderson d'Or who like collects vintage stuff, right? And I'm thinking, it's going to be a lot of new people in the hobby or a lot of people that have like the Marvel cards that want to do with the color. And then Eric had bought a few of red and black ones up, and he was like, Tim, I love it. Like, it makes the card pop. So for someone in like the vintage hockey market to appreciate a new product like that, and then for someone like Carvin, who's he just loves the hobby and loves his raw cards, to be like supportive, it's just a culmination of everyone just helping me essentially.
And also they see that you're a good person, so that helps, right? And you're not fake, right? That's the other part. I just want to show everyone. So I was gifted one of these from our good friend Tim. So I'm using this on a PSA holder, the PSA 10 Sterling Solani. So I got some hockey color, and you can see it looks sharp. Like the red lettering in Sterling shows really nicely against the border. So I'm really happy to have that here. And I have another one, and just to show you that it actually fits inside the regular bag. So if you take the bag, you can see that it fits inside. It looks really sharp. And Kent has one you want to show again. Yours, Kent?
Yeah, right there.
So that's the Luka Doncic teal explosion, I believe it is. And you can see
that's that slab I need to borrow on just weekends, man. You need to drop that off. I'll take care of that one for you. but yeah, so the point you just brought up about it fitting back in the bag. So just to show some other colors. So I'm really going to go hard after the TCG market as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Color matching.
I love that pop there. That's awesome.
But so to go away from the colors for a second, what you just showed is exactly what I was trying to come to the hobby with. With a new product that did a bunch of things, right? It protects it. You can color code it if you want, but I didn't want to change everybody's way of collecting, right? So I understand, even though it's designed not for you to need a bag because it doesn't ever touch anything with the design, that some people might want it back in the bag. Some people still want to carry it around in their Zion cases. People want to still be able to put it on a stand, the same stands they've been using from stand-up displays. Yeah. People wanted to be able to put it in their show your slabs, right? So I designed it in a way that it could still fit in all those places, right? So you don't have to go out and buy this special new carrying case from someone because it's not going to fit. It will go back in the bag. It will go back in the case. You can put it on your show your slabs. You can put it on your stand-up displays. You can throw it at people if you want, and it's still going to be all right.
That's the thing. I want to say that the thing I love about this is it's super thin but super protective.
Yeah,
it's not bulky. That's the thing. It's not bulky. It's not like a huge brick. It actually hugs the card. I love it.
Yeah, I really wanted to have the cell phone case feel.
Yeah,
and I've got questions about the middle bar. So the middle bar not only takes away scratch points and helps prevent from it touching anything else, right? I wanted to do the design that way because I saw the importance of what grading card company people are using, right? So it's just as important now of what company grades your card.
Yeah.
Not that the card itself. The card is always just the most important thing. But in terms of value, it's the tag, what goes along with the card. And then at the same point, I was tired of putting so many barriers in between the card and you actually just enjoying looking at it, right? So It's
Sure.
already behind a piece of plastic. Now you're going to throw a bag on it, which creates more glare.
Yeah.
Now you're going to put it in a carrying case, and now you can so I wanted to create a product that framed it well, that protected it well, and you could essentially, even if I have the Jordan and you have the PSA Jordan rookie, maybe I want a red case on it, maybe you want the black case on it, maybe you want the blue case on it, but essentially you're not only protecting your items, but you're essentially making it as much as you can your own, just like changing a skin on your cell phone.
Yeah, that's really cool. And whenever we get to hook up next, I'm gonna get more off you. So let's gonna go back to my questions here for a second. So we're coming towards the end, and we only have a couple more things to cover. So I just want to see. Corey's on fire here. Eric is saying it's like it's a beautiful frame, a masterful piece of art. I agree. Corey is saying, "Oh, you got the white ones too. Nice."
Oh, nice.
Well,
nice.
so I got the clear one. So this is a clear one, right? This is a clear.
It's a clear one. Oh,
But this is something special. You can't really see it that well on camera, but this is actually, it's marble. It's still it's a marble.
Wow,
Look.
that's awesome.
that is awesome.
I'll have to show you guys some pictures later. But
For sure. Corey says you can make a television show on Eric and Tim's trip to card shows. Yep, we can. Throw it off a roof, no problem. I still won't throw mine off a roof. I don't care.
Oh, wait.
You pay me.
wait, one thing, because we have a lot of fun at shows.
Sure.
I've gotten this from people before. I do not throw the cards to be disrespectful to the hobby or any other way. So what we started, and even like Eric said earlier, Corey loves to throw them as much. He throws them off rooftops, right?
He's a tester, by the way. He's telling you.
Yeah, he really is. I've actually gotten some messages like, "Hey, you're not supposed to throw it because the card and the inside will still break." I know that. I'm doing it so that, and you hear me say this to Aoki on that video. I'm doing it to show that my product works. I don't want you throwing your cards. I don't want you to slide it across concrete or skip it like a rock, like Corey has done in a parking lot before. I do it to my own cards, to my own private collection, stuff that's not worth a lot of money, because I get that too. Oh, why don't you try that with a PSA Jordan 10 rookie? No, that's why, right? It's like, I'm just trying to show that my product works and it looks cool. So at a show, come by. I'll throw my own slabs. We actually played cornhole slab toss in Tampa this week. We were playing cornhole with slab strongs on it. But yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there. I do not want you throwing your cards, but it will work if you do. So disregard everything I just said if you want to throw your slabs.
Don't worry. We'll figure out a way to retrofit it into a frisbee and then make a toy for those who want to do it.
Oh, listen. Wait till you see the boomerang version I have for Australia. The little guys' minds.
I'm all for that. I want one of those. Okay, so want to make sure. I know we're telling your story, but we also want to make sure that your product continues to sell. So, can you please? Actually, no. Before we go there, tell us. Do you have a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us your future plans, and then you can tell us where people can buy your products.
Yeah. So I have some. I guess my future plans is to like keep the momentum going with what's happening, go into the new year. Not only making more business connections, but utilizing the connections I've already made now. So like Corey and I are going to probably do a collab with the necklace thing that you guys always see me wear. I'll do a collab with stand-up displays. I'm sure I'll be on a few lives with Daps, who's a big-time TikTok guy, but really, really good breaker, and on Instagram. Just getting the word out there more. And then I think so. I have something really exciting coming up that I can definitely talk about. I can't give too much detail, but there's a really popular TCG influencer, and I hate to call her just an influencer because I believe she has a really good brand, and she's growing at a faster pace than me. I approached her about essentially giving her her own collection for TCG and selling it that way. So, the yellow, we know will work with Pokemon. It looks good. And then you'll see, I don't have the light green on me. You'll see a light green. you'll see essentially a sky blue, whatever you want to call it, blue
Yep.
to match
Mhm.
Pokemon. And then because her symbol is purple, we're gonna give her exclusive purple Slab Strong for TCG market.
Nice.
Besides that, I mean, I just see every card show I go to, I gain a little bit more knowledge from the guys, from my guys, plus everyone at the hobby, some advice, more eyes on the product, and I simply future plans is to grow this company as fast and hard as I can grow it, and I get married October 1st of 2022, and just start to grow a family and grow a business.
Yeah, you're gonna have a bumper tuxedo. Anyways, we'll save that for another show.
Oh yeah.
We're going to. A couple of people are asking. One person's asking a question, and I'm actually asking as well. I want to ask you twofold. Where can people buy your product, and can Canadians buy your product?
Yeah, so slabstrong.com is where you can buy my product. Yes, Canadians can buy my product because I love my Canadian brothers. It is, I have to figure out a better way. I am shipping to Canada already. It is a different type of animal because of shipping costs, no matter like what the weight. Even if you just buy one,
Sure.
it's a little tough.
Mhm.
That's also, I can't give too much detail, but I am in talks with a couple of different, on the western coast of Canada and on the eastern side, a couple of distribution centers. But yes, right now you can buy from my website. I will ship to Canada. If you have any questions about colors, or let's say you buy a 3-pack and you want 2 black and 1 red, I can get that done too. I would suggest if you have any other questions like that, the best place to reach me besides the email that gives me if you go to my website is at slab_strong on Instagram. So it's slab_strong. I do have a business page, but I'm just not that fancy. I just like to people come to my personal page and contact me. So yeah, slab_strong on Instagram. You can also message me on Facebook, Twitter, email me through the website. But I absolutely am selling to Canada at the moment. I do have to take a step back though and figure out a better process because shipping is just tough. But I
Sure.
absolutely will send anything out to Canada.
I have
Awesome.
an idea for you after, but we'll talk about that after.
All right.
So we're at the end of the show. Sadly, we're at the end of the show. So really, hold on a second. Yes, Canadians can buy my product in America. That is what Corey is saying. So Corey, yes, you can buy Corey's product in America for Canadians. So that's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek humor there, but definitely can do that. And if I'm sure you'll be back at the expo, so you'll be able to buy it that way.
Oh
And
yeah, I
just so
can't wait
you
for
know-
May. That was an awesome show.
Yeah, and just so everyone's aware, I didn't think to take a picture, but Corey had an awesome like Canada Leaf display. It was awesome, and he had a Wayne Gretzky kind of like a mural-esque kind of display. I wish I'd taken a picture of it, but anyways, next time I do that. Oh, what do you think? Next time you use your real money to play money, not that play stuff. Well, we'll make sure you try maple donuts when you come up here, Eric. And I'll help you pump gas too.
But Tim Hortons, not coffee, but Tim Hortons has better donuts than Dunkin' Donuts. But Dunkin' has better coffee. So I do have to give it up. Plus, they call them Timbits instead of Munchkins. So I always get shout outs and I love it. And you can buy cards from Tim Hortons.
And,
That's right.
And Justin Bieber has clothing from Tim Hortons here. So we have that too. Okay, so I'm going to ask you my favorite question of every show. And really, the whole premise behind the show is inspiration, motivation, and then we also do a bit of side or of diversity and inclusivity. So we want to make sure we promote that as well. So I want you to tell us what inspires you.
So being able to, I never thought, I always felt there was something that I wanted to do, but I think in the back of my mind, it was always like, you'll never do it. So at this point in my life, my motivation is building a family with my fiance. And honestly, never going back to work for someone again. It's just been the time I've been able to spend with my family, the time traveling, the people I've been able to meet. I've done okay with the sales at this point, right? I'm still a young company, so I can't talk about the amazing money coming in yet. But the stuff beyond that, right? The friendships, the actual friendships. Like I invited Corey to my wedding, but it was honestly just that he's probably going to give me like a 10% discount for show you slabs and that, right? So, yeah. But building a family with my fiance, having kids, getting married next year, building this business, and like I keep saying, just being in control of my own destiny is what truly keeps me motivated, because I know what it's like to wake up and not know, honestly, at some points in my life, like where I was going to eat or where I was going to shower, right? Mm-hmm. Or how long am I going to go? Like when I was essentially homeless, right? I wasn't going home for Christmas, right? When am I going to see my family? So I learned over time to appreciate the little things and to not ever give up just because, you know, I had this idea when I was 38 or that I didn't finish college or any of this other stuff. Like, just really don't give up. It's really up to you. And in most situations, you'll be your only barrier. And if you can just wake up every day and tell yourself that it will get better, or just try to accomplish one thing every day to make it better. You know, there's really, I feel at this point I'm unstoppable in the sense that I truly only feel like I'm the only person that can hold me back.
Yeah, nice. That's
well
very important.
Well said.
Well said. So, unfortunately, we're at the end of our show. This was an enjoyable conversation. We went a whole half hour past our normal time. Corey is still going strong here. Let's see what he's saying. It's going too much too fast. Let's see. Oh yeah, his Sanderson Orr says his Corey display is awesome. I should get a picture of that. Name was saying that friendships are what they're worth the most in a hobby. I agree, and I'm not sure what Corey's saying here. Definitely 20%. I'll be there. Someone's got to throw slabs on there. Oh, I think he's talking about coming to the expo. Talking about coming to the
expo. He's talking about coming to my wedding. But so here's the thing.
Wedding.
I know. Here's the thing. My fiance is sitting right. Oh wait, she's gone. Oh no, she is. She's still there. Maybe I shouldn't say this. I don't know if I told her this. The industry summit is the day after the wedding.
Oh no way.
So I don't think that I'm gonna make. Yep, she's looking. I don't think that I'm gonna be able to make the wedding. Oh no, I'm sorry, babe. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make the industry summit. And yeah, so that's why Corey's saying that, because that was a tough one though, because like I've really met since May 20th so many good people in this hobby. I just ran out of a seat. That's why I couldn't invite Eric. Like I'm one stool short. But I've met so many people in this hobby that it was just funny that I was like, oh man, there's gonna be a whole bunch of people that can't go, but it'll be all right. I'll still have a good time.
For sure. And then yes, I do agree. His wife might kill him after, or his fiance might kill him after. So, and it's live recorded. So
hey, listen, she can't catch me. She's still worried about her ankle. I just have to speed walk. I don't even have to run anymore. I just have to walk a little bit faster.
So what you're saying, you can run faster scared than she can angry.
Yeah.
Yes. So Bobby says sometimes the things we fear the most can be our greatest asset. Yes, that's true. And that is actually really the point of our show, is to showcase those stories, to show the diversity in thought and leadership and that kind of stuff. So Tim, hang out there for a second. We're going to end the show. I'll talk to you right after. But I want to thank all the people that came to watch. We had quite a few. So I want to thank you as well for Corey and Bobby and all these other people who came to watch. You obviously, Tim, brought a lot of people to the show. So thank you for that. For those of you who are interested in our content, please subscribe, like our content. We're going to keep going strong with this stuff. And this is a dream that Kent and I have. So we'll keep going with that. And
look at that display.
Look at that.
I always have trouble trying to figure out where the camera is on these calls, but basically, this is it. Just figured I'd show off a little bit before we went off.
Yeah, for sure.
Beauty.
All right, everyone. Have a great night. And Kate and I will see you in the new year. This is our last show for 2021. And we'll come back strong. Slab strong. Come back strong. Slab strong.
I like what you did there. The check's in the mail.
Yes. Cheers, folks.
Have a good night.